All right. Hi, everybody. We're going to present on student services. So we have quite a few people on our team. We are made up of all the learning specialists. So myself, Maddie, and Sandy, our school psychologist, Mr. Chermak. We have two interventionists, Miss Kandari and Miss Coe, and then our English language development teacher, Miss Linda. And then we've got some other people who aren't here, but also make up the rest of our teams as well. So our SLP, all of our amazing paras, our OT, and then we have a PT and a PT assistant that come see kiddos too. And I'll go over to Christy.
Hello. So as many of you guys know, this is the second year that Miss Coe and I have been doing intervention. And so we're kind of continuing to just dial in our process. But really we're focusing a lot on collaborating with teachers and going over data, helping them create their small groups in the classroom, creating our own small groups for pullouts, and lots of data analysis. Something that I'm excited to share is that new this year, we have a math tutor from AmeriCorps who's working with a caseload of students from 5th through 8th grade. And so that's been really awesome. And we're excited to have him with us. There you can see a couple photos of us working with our kiddos. And our instructional coaching, we've definitely backed off a little bit this year just to be able to really focus in on doing one thing well. But we still do meet with teachers by request and support various professional development opportunities and things throughout the building. And, creating resources that we have available to share with teachers and, partnering and integrating with other areas of the building. So with specials and also with Miss Charlie.
All right, Miss Linda. Miss Linda, you're muted. You have to unmute. Oh, I don't know if she can unmute actually.
I think you can now. I think we
I
had
think
you
you
blocked.
can
We had everybody blocked, but you should be able to unmute Linda.
Nope, still can't hear you. Hold on, let's see.
She's muted now. Tell her to
Hello,
try.
can you hear me?
There it is.
Oh, we got her! Yay!
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. That was me. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Linda Quijano. I'm the ELD teacher here at Westgate. I'm new to Westgate this year, and I feel really honoured to be here tonight. So thank you for having me. ELD is English language development, and it focuses on working with the English language learners here at Westgate Community School. And we focus on the 4 language domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And those are as stated in the Colorado Department of Education guidelines. So once a student is enrolled in ELD, they get yearly assessed, and that's how we can track their growth. And then they're placed into groups and levels. So levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, ranging from entering, emerging, developing, and expanding. And currently we have 77 students at that developing and expanding level, which is levels 3 and 4. And we have 23% of our students at levels 1 and 2, which is entering and emerging. And we currently have 6 groups of ELD. And I've just broken those down there. So we have 4 students in our kindergarten group, 6 students in our first and second group, 8 students in our third and fourth grade group, 4 students in the 5th and 6th grade, 4 students in 7th and 8th grade, and 1 student in 9th grade. And my days look different depending on what the focus is, but during these small groups, the focus is specific on language skills that students may need extra support with. And I do a lot of collaborating with teachers with this to see what they're doing in their core classes and what I can pull over into my ELD small groups. And Westgate's ELD program is set up really uniquely in a really special way where the group sizes are really small, and this allows me to make it very student-centered. Classes do differ daily, but regular activities look like interactive reading. So we'll read short passages together, and discuss vocabulary, content comprehension. I'm actually really excited. I've started a book club with my 7th and 8th graders and my 5th and 6th graders, and they're loving it so far. So that's really fun. We do writing exercises and sentence building. So that will be sentence stems, graphic organizers, written using the RACE strategy with my middle schoolers to practice their written responses after reading a text. I do give them a grade in ELD, so they get weekly grades from me, and one of those grades is a research and reasoning grade. So my lessons are broken up into 15 and 30-minute sessions. And so in the 30-minute sessions, we usually have a topic, and we're researching and writing and reading and doing all sorts of different activities. And then lastly, we do lots and lots of student talk. So I run off the ratio of 80-20. So 20 explicit direction from me, the teacher, and then 80% is lots of student cooperation, discussion, turns and talks, peer collaboration with my younger students. That's lots of my turn first, your turn second, echo and response. And I just want to close out by saying how grateful I am to work at Westgate. It is such a beautiful community and I feel very supported. I'm always collaborating with teachers, and it is a really unique environment where every teacher sees a student as a whole child, and it's a real pleasure to work here. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. All right, so from the special ed side, we have 46 students who have qualified for an IEP this year, or qualified, in previous years. We have 4 kinders, 10 in the 1st and 2nd grade pod, 7 and 3-4, 9 and 5-6, 12 and 7-8, and 4 in high school. And then you can kind of see that breakdown of where students qualify. It doesn't necessarily add up to 46 because students can qualify with multiple disabilities. SPED services can be any of these things, all of them. So we try and provide everything in the least restrictive environment. So not pulling students out who shouldn't be pulled out of class. And so Sandy, Maddie, and I, and sometimes the speech and OT and even Mr. Termack from the psych perspective go into classes as much as we can, but then there's times that we need to pull them out if their skills are a little bit lower. And so we might pull them out for literacy, for a math group, executive functioning or daily living. So like planning, organization, class participation. Ms. Bunnell is going to speak to her amazing executive functioning group that she's been running. We might be pushing in to work on some of those things. There's some different social skills groups. We've got like Miss Maddie and Mr. Termack collaborate on a social skills and mental health group. And then the speech therapist, Miss Smith and Mr. Termack collaborate on different groups. So there's just lots of services happening around our building. The process for students going into special education is first a referral. So they will go through the MTSS process, or sometimes it's parents requesting an evaluation. And if the student hasn't made progress with those interventions in place, then we'll open an evaluation. During the evaluation process, we assess all areas just to make sure that we're not missing anything. And then we hold an eligibility meeting. So the whole team comes together, the family, the service providers, the general education teacher, and discuss the results and then determine if that student is eligible. And if they are, then we repeat this process every 3 years. And then if they're eligible, we also write an IEP with goals, accommodations, and services that gets updated every year. So we've completed so far 5 evaluations that were brand new evaluations this year. We've completed 13 that were reevaluations, and actually 2 students have also exited who made a lot of growth and were ready to be in general education. So that was a big growth for them. Maddie, if you want to talk about your group.
Hi, I'm Maddie Frazier. So I'm the K-2 learning specialist. And I chose to focus on the executive functioning social emotional skill group that I do. I pull them 3 times a week. And the reason that I wanted to focus on this group in particular is that these skills are kind of foundation in accessing academics. If a kid isn't regulated, even if they're in the classroom and hearing the information, they're not really retaining and making like deep connections with it. So we've been using a little spot of feelings and emotions, and it goes into life skills and actions as well. It's something that kids have really take into, and it helps them identify emotions in themselves, how to calm some of those big emotions that our little kids can have, and then how to advocate for themselves, how to notice emotions in others, and just generally interact with the world.
All right, Miss Bonnell.
Hello, you'll have to pardon me. I'm Sandy Bonnell. I've been under the weather, so my voice is a little raggedy at the end of the day. I work with students ranging from 3rd grade all the way up to 10th grade. However, the groups that I'm sort of targeting in this presentation pretty much fit within the 3 through 8 group. And specifically for reading and writing, I work with students within the Wilson Reading System umbrella. And so I have kids anywhere from step 1 under Wilson all the way up to step 4. And I forgot to mention, this is my 3rd year of using Wilson. And if you're unfamiliar with Wilson, it is a structured literacy program based on phonological coding and research and based under Urban Gillingham principles. And so it's direct, multisensory, interactive. It's proven to be immensely useful and successful. I have become a firm believer over the past few years. I have seen substantial growth, especially if I start working with a child in 3rd grade, by the time that they're getting into 7th and 8th grade, that they have picked up so much ground and are able to access their education. So Wilson is amazing. And so basically it follows like a certain progression, short vowels, consonants, and digraphs, all the way up to multisyllabic words, exceptions, and syllabic, working through syllables and chunking out the bits and the parts of all the words. My kids spend a lot of time dissecting sentences and very complex words into smaller pieces so that they can read it and understand it. It's been very, very successful. The other part of that is I have been doing more targeted writing instruction, primarily with 7th and 8th graders. And I have been focusing on the RACES strategy, restating, answering, citing, explaining, and summarizing as they are working through a research paper or trying to develop an academic response. And again, it's been working really well. I've been able to basically work on each part of that process of writing and focus in on what the students need. And a big focus of this year has been on explaining and elaborating our ideas, because I have found that you can answer a prompt. However, it's your own ideas and finding your voice where kids tend to get stuck. And I have a lot of students who just tend to get stuck in their own heads and are unable to get the words down on paper. But there are different strategies that you can use to move them past that. And it's worked really well. Anyway, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. All right. Another huge portion of my work this year especially has been working on executive functioning. Over the summer, I started reading this book about executive functions for every classroom, written by Mitch Weathers. And he is a classroom teacher, a science teacher, I believe. And he spent a significant amount of time talking about the deficits that our students have and the correlation between developing these skills in order to become a successful student. And if you're unable to get yourself organized, or if you're not able to recall what you were doing in class, the odds are that you're not going to be doing very well in class. You're not going to hold on to that information. So I have taken parts of this curriculum and introduced it to my 7-8 group, and it has been interesting. And part of it has involved, obviously, like parts of the executive functioning process by Mitch. the weekly agenda, and then the planning calendar. But another piece that I sort of introduced on top of that was what I call the big board in my classroom, where basically I track what is happening in class on a weekly, daily basis, and I update it. And so when kids come into me to have conversations about the things they're doing in class, I have a model that they can look at and reference for, oh, I forgot we were doing that in class. Because I firmly believe that if a student is not able to come into my checkout and express what they were doing in class, then they haven't learned what they needed to learn. And so I have sort of given them this platform to go into class, and they know what it is that they're looking for, specifically the objectives and the assignments and the classwork that they're doing, and they need to be able to tell me about that at the end of the day. And we have really deep conversations about this. And then if students are missing work, then we're able to reflect on that and say, well, so we talked about this last week. How can we change this going forward? It's been working really well. And honestly, the kids have, it's a work in progress. And so I have slowly started to sort of whittle down what I think is the most important parts of it. And the students, since I have done that, have been really on top of it. Like they come in, we talk about what's happening. They revise their notes in their folders where they have all of these agendas and calendars, and they've been able to stay on top of their work. And so when I'm going into IC and I'm checking grades and work completed over the course of the week, I feel like I have a better picture of what's happening, and then the student is feeling more successful because they're not getting pestered by me either. And they know that they've done what they needed to do. It's pretty amazing. A lot of them come in and are able to say, I did this and I did this and I did this. This was the objective in this class. This is what we were working on. This is my plan to complete my work. It's been really interesting. I haven't been able to push this into 5-6 yet. That is my goal. It has been, there is a certain level of tedium to it as far as management. And so having these 8 kids sort of experimenting with this process, I'm nearly at the point where I feel like I'm ready to now introduce folders and the same agendas and calendars to 5-6.
All right, I'm going to talk about my math pullout. So I have 8 students with IEPs who began the year at least 2 years below on their MCOMPs, which is something that we give to all of our kiddos. Ms. Kandari gives it to everybody. And it focuses just on math calculation deficits. So it gives me a good gauge on where they're starting. And then I work on really providing math tools that they can use within their classroom. So it's like multiplication charts, how to use a calculator the right way, because they don't always know, using notes to explain algorithms and steps. And then my most favorite part of it is having kids track their own growth. So you can see here a picture of a kiddo holding up his little certificate that I gave him when he passed his multiplication assessment that I gave them every couple weeks. So I started the year with that group with only 40% of them had mastered subtraction with regrouping, or, at one point they had mastered it, but now we've forgotten it. And so we went back all the way through that, 3 by 1 digit multiplication, 2 by 2 digit, and then we're into long division now. And then hoping to get with decimal operations and fractions coming up next. I get to be in 3rd grade through an 11th grade math class. And so it's fun to see how important those skills are going all the way up. Where if we're not getting, 2 by 1 division in 3rd grade, we're really not going to get it when we're doing decimal operations with division in 5th grade. And so it gives me a good view, kind of going across grade levels of what's important to give them. And then it's great to see their excitement when they're like, I mastered this thing, I did it. And they ask for their little certificates and they get excited. So if you've got a kiddo in one of those pullouts, hopefully they've brought it home to you because they've gotten them.
All right, and I will close it out just by talking about special education mental health services. I'm David Chermak, the school psychologist, and a big part of what I do for special education is working with students either in groups, individually, and as part of the check-in and check-outs that we have. Sandy was just talking a little bit about that for what that looks like in 5-8. So the social groups right now, I'm involved with 2 that I do with Maddie. She meets with them 2 other times a week, and I join her for a third. And I also have another 3rd grade group that I run. We use the SPOT curriculum, which Maddie introduced, and has been really great. It's got just some great pictures and videos. It's adorable, and it's also she also was able to get that introduced for our K2 Gen Ed advocacy curriculum. So you might hear some other teachers talking about that, but it's been a really wonderful program, and kids take to it well. I found like over the years that a lot of times it's hard to tailor a group for the older kids more specifically, just because it's not a very large school, and I want to make sure that I'm like focusing on what a particular student needs. So a lot of the groups have shifted more to just individual meetings to address issues specific to that student. So we end up talking about different issues. Sometimes it's a specific situation, but also kind of general skills and how those apply. It's part of scheduled services, but I also meet with kids when a situation comes up that's needing some support. Could be a situation of emotional dysregulation, but working with teachers and other providers to kind of help get a student to where they need to be to feel okay about something and hopefully return to class. The check-in, check-out program has been great, and we've been doing that for a few years. Really, I was thinking about it first just in terms of social emotional support, but Sandy especially has done a really great job this year of introducing the executive functioning component and focusing on work completion. So that's been a really nice addition to it, so that we are addressing both their social emotional needs, but also what's happening in the classroom. It also happens with Tessa checking in with some kids individually in the pod, Maddie with different kids down in her classroom. So we have like a really good program with it across the board. We have some students who are on point sheets or sticker charts, some of which are tied to a reward system. And it's just really about getting good feedback from teachers about what's going on and knowing what's happening. I think we just have a wonderful team, and I'm really excited about who we have on board. It feels really cohesive. A big part of this job too is just consult work, and sometimes that's written specifically into a student's IEPs that I might have consult time with them. But I think for every kid, it's so important to understand what's going on across the board in different classes, get feedback from kids, from parents, and then we're able to address kids' needs as they come up, because there are just a lot of individual situations that require context to address them correctly. And with that, I think that is it for us. Is that right, Tessa?
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks all.
Thanks a lot, guys. That was awesome.